Okay, so here we go. New week. We're going to finish up part 2 of the Rosh. We're going to finish up the Rosh today, Bezrat Hashem. So let's do a quick review of what we learned last time, what the Rosh did. So the first thing the Rosh did is the Rosh, he brought the Mishnah. So he brought Haroa Makom Shenasa Bo Nisim L'Yisrael. So if a person sees the place that miracles were done for the Jewish people, Omer, he says this bracha. He says Baruch. What we learned, what Baruch really means is Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. And he says Shen'asa nisim lavosenu b'makom hazeh. That Hashem, he did miracles for our fathers in this place. Then he brings the Gemara, and he says, he brings the rule in the Gemara, V'anisa derabim mevarchim. On a miracle done for the quote unquote the rabim, the masses, we make a bracha. Anisa de yachid lo mevarchina. But on a miracle done for an individual person, we don't make a bracha. Right, so then he's going to bring the story that there was a man, he was traveling in Avar Yamina, and then a lion attacked him. He was miraculously saved from the lion. He came to Rava. He asked Rava the Shaila, what do I do? Rava told him, when you come to that place where the miracle happened for you, you're going to make this bracha. You're going to say Baruch, and we learned once again it means Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. But this time he's going to say She'asa li nes b'makom hazeh. So the one individual, the one person that Hashem did a nes for, he's going to say Hashem did a nes for me in this place. So Amrei, so they say, who's Amrei? So we say it's the Amoraim. They're teaching in the Gemara, Anisa derabim. When the miracle's done for all the Jewish people, Kole Ama, everyone Sarike leave Ruke. Everyone needs to make a bracha. But Anisa Diyachidu, but a miracle done for one person, and then he brings what we saw for the first time in the Rif. But he, who? Ubare ubarbare. So now we see something very interesting. A miracle's done for one person. That person makes a bracha. His son makes a bracha. His grandson makes a bracha. Sariche livruche. They all need to do a bracha. The kuliyama lo sariche. But everyone else doesn't need to make a bracha. And then haki garsinan. Where do we get this from? Where do we get this version from? Rav Alfas. So it's the Rif who brings it. And then the Rosh gives us another clue, which we didn't know before, that Rav Haigon also said this about a miracle that happens for one person, that the person, his son, and his grandson make a bracha. Okay, so then we go on last time, and we saw the Nusak, we saw the text of the Gemara, Didan, our Gemara in Bavli, and it's written, Eila Anisa de Yachid. Only on the miracle for one person, who nichu sarik leave ruche. Only that person needs to do the bracha. And then we go over to the Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud, Masnisin and our Mishnah over there, the same Mishnah. It says, Benisa derabim, on a miracle done for everyone. Aval benisa de yachid, on a miracle just done for one person. Eino sarik livarek, then everyone else doesn't need to do the bracha. So Mahu, Sheyivarek Adam al Nisei Aviv Verabo. Now the Rosh is going to bring a question that we haven't seen before. The Rosh is going to bring a question. How do we know, where do we know from that a person makes a bracha on a miracle that happened for his father or his rabbi or his rebbe? So im haya misuyam, but if it's a very specific, it's a very special miracle, and he gives 2 examples, like the miracle done for Yoav ben Saruya, or the miracle done for Daniel. We know the case of Daniel very well, where Daniel was thrown into the den, the lion's den, and the lions didn't attack him. So on a special miracle like that, maybe everyone does make a bracha. Okay, now, the Rosh is going to bring up a very, very interesting case now, because what we've been trying to figure out the whole time is the halakhic significance of the word Rabbi. What does it mean a miracle happens for the Rabbi? Does it have to be all the Jewish people? Does it have to be a Ruvan? We saw, I think it was the Rabbeinu Yonah, he brought in the concept of Rov. Is it Rov, a majority of the Jewish people? What does Rabbi mean? We know what Yachid mean. Yachid means it happens to one person. But what exactly does Rabbi mean? What does it mean that a miracle happened for the Rabbim of the Jewish people? And now the Rosh is going to start to try to get us some answers. So I wrote up on the board what the Rosh says next. And we're going to start in all this section now. And we're going to go over to the Gemara in Horios. We're not going to get too deep into what they're learning over there. I'll explain a little bit of what they're learning. But now we're going to start to understand what the Torah says about Rabim in Halakha. Halakhically, what does the word Rabim mean? Okay, so the Rosh starts. He says a miracle. He says a nace shell of the tribes. What happens now if a miracle is done for the tribes, right, for the Shvatim? Mahu shiyavareg. Who is going to make the bracha? Who is going to make a bracha? Right? If a miracle is done for the tribes, what if a miracle is only done for one tribe? Is that Rabbi? Okay, so we're going to go over to Masechta Horios, and we're going to see something really fascinating. In Masechta Horios, we're not going to get too into the case, but they're talking about what if the Beis Din, what if the Sanhedrin, what the main Sanhedrin erred in a halakha. So then people did the halakha. People did the halakha wrong. They were doing maybe an avera instead of a mitzvah. So now people have to bring a chatas offering. They have to bring a sin offering, but they did it b'shogeg. They did it because they listened to the Sanhedrin, and the Sanhedrin gave the wrong ruling. And then they gave a correction later. So there's a big question. So does the Sanhedrin have to, what offerings does the Sanhedrin have to bring? Traditionally, like the Sanhedrin brings, I think, I don't want to get too much into it. Okay, but let's say only one tribe followed the ruling. Does only that tribe have to make the ruling to bring the chatas, or does all the Jewish people need to bring the chatas? Let's say 6 of the tribes, so 6 out of 12 of the tribes, 6 out of 12 of the Shvatim, they followed the incorrect ruling of the Sanhedrin. Do only those 6 have to bring a chatas offering, or do all the Jewish people have to bring a chatas offering? Or let's take a step further. What if 7 tribes? Now we're in the majority. So now we have a rov. If 7 out of the 12 tribes followed the incorrect ruling of the Sanhedrin, then maybe now all the Jewish people have to make a bracha. So what the Rosh is doing here is he's quoting, it's on Horios, Daf Hey Amen Aleph. Let me just write that down where this is coming from. So this is all being quoted from another Gemara, and he's quoting the Gemara, so he may say it later. Oh, here he goes. So he's quoting, well, here, we'll wait until he gets to it. He's gonna tell us where it's coming from. Okay. So he's gonna bring this case from over there. Miracle of the tribes, who makes a bracha? Anybody know Mem Dalet, Roshei Teivos? Anyone know what it stands for? We're going to see this a lot. We really got to know this one. The only way to learn these is just to keep doing them, seeing them, and trying to memorize them. Man De'amar, who says? So when we have 2 opinions, when we have a machlokas, there's going to be a Man De'amar. Let's say it's Rebbe Yehuda and Rebbe Shimon. So Rebbe Yehuda is going to have a Man De'amar, the one who says like this, and then Rebbe Shimon is going to have a Man De'amar, the one who says like that. So sometimes it doesn't, I don't know why, but we don't say their names, we just say Man De'amar, the one who said, like the one who said, from the one who said. So Ma'an De'amar. I hope I got that.
We have that in the Gemara a lot, right?
Man De'amar. So it's like the one who says, like the opinion of the one who says, so it's giving one of the shitas, one of the opinions in the machlokas, one who says. So there's one opinion in the Gemara. There's a Man De'amar. There's one opinion that all, and really in this case it's each tribe. So this expression here, kol shevet v'shevet, means each individual tribe, this is very interesting, is called, each individual tribe is called a kahal, a congregation. So this becomes very fascinating. Congregation, right? So if each tribe is its own kahal, then if one of the tribes followed the incorrect ruling of the Sanhedrin, then since each tribe's called a kahal, it may be only that tribe brings the chatas offering and no one else does. So in this case, a kahal just means one tribe. So that's one opinion. And then they need, so in this case, they need to make a bracha. So if a miracle happens for one of the Shvatim, and each individual tribe or shevet is called a kahal, so if a miracle happens for one, tribe, it seems like maybe only that tribe would make a bracha. Now then, Man Damar, once again, we have another Man Damar, we have another opinion. So we have another Man Damar. Once again, one who says, so this is the other opinion. Now, it says, no, only when all of the tribes are called a kahal. So only when we have all the tribes are we now called the congregation of Israel. Now, we're going to see there's another subtle way, there's another subtle way that this can all work. So it's going to get a little tricky too, because we could say the kahal of, let's say, the kahal of Shevet Yehuda, right? We could use language like that. The kahal of Shevet Yehuda, the kahal of Shevet Binyamin. We could use the congregation of this tribe, the congregation of that tribe. But then we can use the language of kahal Yisrael. The congregation of Israel now means all of Israel. So there's different ways we can use the word kahal. So if it requires all of the tribes to be called a kahal, then, anybody remember this one? Aleph Sadik, what's that stand for? Eino Sarik. We don't need. So Eino Sarik. Eino Sarik. And now it's the opposite. We don't need to make a bracha. So what does this mean? So let's give a case. Let's say a miracle happens to one tribe. Let's say Shevet Naphtali. A great miracle happened for Shevet Naphtali. According to the first opinion, because Shevet Naphtali itself is called a kahal, only Shevet Naphtali needs to make a bracha when they come to the place where the miracle was done for them. But if it requires kol hashavatim, if it requires all of the tribes to be called a kahal, then we need either all the Jewish people or at least a majority of maybe, let's say, 7 tribes. It had to happen to at least 7 out of the 12 tribes. So then we need some kind of majority or all. And then if it only happens to one tribe, they wouldn't need to make a bracha. Is everybody, we're throwing a lot of facts around. Everybody got that? Questions? Where's everybody at on all that?
I have a question.
Okay.
In Torah, it's talking about bringing a korban.
Yes.
And here it's talking about making a bracha. How do we know that the rule would be the same for both? 'Cause that's what he's implying.
That is a fantastic question. And this is something we're going to see again and again in Gemara. And it becomes like a super rule. There's like klaus and prats. So if something like this works for the definition of a halakhic definition of Rabbi, it becomes a klal. And it can be applied to all different cases. If it's only a prat, then it's like you're saying, then it only applies to that case over there. So we have to determine sometimes there are things, klaus, or they general rules, and they go in the whole Torah, or they a prat. Now, can anybody think, we're having a little bit of discussion, we start to see a little bit in the Rif. We have the same kind of discussion right in our very Mishnah that we're learning right now. Can anybody think about what it is? Anybody think of a case of where we're kind of debating if something's a klal or a prat? We see something mentioned only on one bracha, but the Rif started saying, hey, maybe that applies. And we saw it in the Tosfos. Actually, the first time we saw it was in the Tosfos, the end of the Tosfos. It said, hey, maybe this applies to all of the brachas. Anybody remember what it is? Anybody remember? It was the concept of parakim, and the Rosh is about to go into this soon. We only see the concept of parakim on the bracha on the Yom HaGadol. We only see with that bracha that every 30 days you can make the bracha, and you have to wait another 30 days to make the bracha. But then, the end of Tosafos, he's like, what you're saying, he starts with this crazy idea. Maybe that concept of parakim, even though it was only mentioned on the Yom HaGadol, maybe that's more of like a klal in this Mishnah. Maybe there's always the concept of parakim on a lot of these brachas. Maybe even this, seeing a miracle, maybe that also has the concept of parakim. And you have to wait, another 30 days when you come to the place where you saw a miracle. So even in our own Mishnah, we have this concept we're dealing with. Is it a klal? Is it a prat? Is it a prat? Is it specific? Is the 30-day rule only when we come to the Mediterranean Sea, the Yam HaGadol? Or is it more of a klal? Does it apply to all these type of brachas that we're seeing in this Mishnah? Okay, so we're going to get into that soon. But so here it seems like what the Rosh is saying is this is more of a klal. There's a klal of a machlokis in Horios of what's the definition of a rabbi. And we're trying to get the halakhic definition of the word rabbi so we understand in our halakha that we're doing right now, how does rabbi affect the bracha? How many people did the miracle need to happen for that now all the Jewish people are chayiv to make the bracha? Is it 7 tribes? Is it a majority? Is it a rove? Or it had to be all tribes. It had to happen to all 12 tribes, like something like the crossing of the Red Sea. And that happened to everybody, and now everyone has to make the bracha. So we're defining rabbi. So we're defining what is the word rabbi in a halakhic significance. Where's everybody at? Is this making sense? Is this too much? Is it okay? All right, so we'll move on. We'll keep moving on. And let's see, what's the Rosh going to do next? Now, the Rosh is now going to give us information on where this came from. And he's going to tell us, and he's going to say, paluta, it's a paluta. So even though this word is Aramaic, we're going to see that this word is very similar to a word in Lashon HaKodesh, in Hebrew. It's very similar to a word. And then he's going to give us information here. And this is good to just get used to like the way it works, the organization of the Rishonim. And here it tells us now, he just simply tells us here, where did this come from? And then we got a nice thing in the Oz V'Hadar here, gives us further information, and it gives us that. Okay, so now...
One question.
Yeah.
How did it switch from Rabbim to Kahal?
Okay, so that's just the language that's being used over here in Gemara Horios.
Is it the same thing?
Right, so there's two concepts. So the concept is either rove or kol. So our word rabim, it can have two definitions. It can be kol, all. So for it to be the rabim, it has to happen to all the Jewish people, or for rove. Or for rove, then the majority of the Jewish people. So we're trying to define our word rabim.
No, but Kahal, well, what is Kahal?
Right, so over here in Gemara Horios, it interchanges the word rabim with kahal.
It changes it.
Well, it's trying to define rabim over there too.
It's just calling it Kahal.
But kahal can mean, to one opinion, we can call each tribe a kahal, a congregation. Or we can call the whole Jewish people a kahal, the congregation of Israel. Now, if you think about it, we have it even on a local level here in Baltimore. Here, like right at Rabbi Eichenstein's shul, we have the congregation here, right?
The Kahal.
Right, the kahal here. Over at the Aguda, we have Aguda Green Spring and Aguda Park Heights, there's congregations there. We call the congregation of a synagogue a kahal. But we could call the whole congregation of Baltimore. We could have the Kehilas Baltimore. That's a kahal. And then we could have the whole Jewish people. The klal, we call it klal Yisrael. You know, all the Jewish people, but we could also call it the Kehilas Yisrael, the whole Kehila, the whole congregation of all the Jewish people. So we're really just trying to define rabbi, the word rabbi. How many people did the miracle need to happen for? Paluta, it's Aramaic, but we have a word. We have a famous generation, the Dor Haflaga. We had a descendant of Adam named Peleg. What's Peleg? What's Dor Haflaga? What was it? It was the language. Dor Haflaga. It was the division, right? Everyone was divided into the 70 nations, 70 languages. So this is the Aramaic version, Paluta, but it means what we call machlokus. It's a machlokus. It's a machlokus, what we call it in Lashon HaKodesh. It's a disagreement. So there's a machlokus in the Gemara, right? So he's telling us, so Rosh is telling us there's a machlokus, and it is in, and this pei kuf. Anybody know? Pei stands for, we're going to see this a lot. We're going to see this language a lot, so we've got to get used to this. We're going to see a lot of Tosafos and the Rishon. So it's Beperek, right? Beperek, good. Beperek, comma, which means first chapter. It's in the first chapter. Where? Which first parak? In Gemara Horios, right? Horios, and then he tells us it's on Daf like 5a, right? Daf 5a. Okay, so he's just all the Rosh is doing here is he's giving us a nice way to look at. He's giving the source for where this machlokas is. If you want to look up more information on this Palukta or this machlokas, it's coming from Horios, and it's right. I talked about the Mishnah there is dealing with what happened. The Sanhedrin makes an error who is to bring a Kantas offering. But we don't want to get too far into that because that's not what we're learning right now. But we're pulling out of that. What the Rosh is doing is he's pulling out of that other sugya, that other Gemara, he's pulling out the definition of a rabbi. What's a rabbi, halakhically? But there he also uses the language of kahal. But kahal and rabbim are the same thing. So that whole sugya over there, it goes through like this whole thing. What if one tribe did it? What if 2 tribes, 3 tribes did it? What if 6 tribes did it? What if 7 tribes did it? And it's trying to get an answer of, do we need all the Jewish people for Rabbim? Or do we just need Rov? Do we just need the majority of the Jewish people for Rabbim? Let's say 7 out of 12 tribes. So we start to at least get a definition of what Rabbim is, and that's really helpful for us trying to figure out Halakha L'maisa over here. So it's really helpful what the Rosh is bringing in here. All right, so that's that part. And let's see. So then, okay, then it's going to be interesting. Now he's going to go back to this. And this is what the Tosafos started to mention. So now he's going to go back to this concept here. And he's going to say this. The Kol HaBrachos, Ha-Shenuyos, Bazeh, Haperek, Sarif, he's here, and this should sound familiar when we go through it. Behem should sound familiar. Behem, shame, umalchus. So we've heard this before. This was Rebbe Zera in the Yerushalmi Talmud, and he says that every bracha needs to have shame, the name of Hashem, and malchus. So he's going back to this, and we'll see why he's going back to this. So now he's picking up what the Tosafos started with, that all brachas need to have shame and malchus for it to be a bracha. And we'll see why he's going back to this. So first he did a little work on the word rabbim, so we can figure out halakhically what rabbi means. And here he's saying all the blessings, all the brachos, all the blessings, all the different blessings, so every different kind of blessing. In this parak, in our parak, in our chapter, right? In our chapter, needs, for it to be a bracha, needs to mention in it, needs to mention the name of Hashem, and it needs to mention the kingship of Hashem. All right, any questions? This should sound familiar, but we can do questions. Yeah.
Just a technical question.
Okay.
Looking in here,
Yeah.
there's some stuff in bold print and then there's stuff in not bold print. Is the bold print right from the Gemara?
Okay, right, so the bold print, so right, it bolds like Haroah right at the beginning. That's just to show, right, it bolds like Gemara, like Gimel Mem, like the abbreviation for Gemara. Which other bold?
But everything until the word Shrichi, like the 6th line.
Let me
again.
take a look at your...
I'm just wondering if he, like the riff, you said
Sometimes,
you
sometimes it's like a divrei maskil to let you know the sections.
This whole section here is...
Oh, so that's interesting. So I think it's bold because it's a quote. So I think what
It is
the
quote.
printer's showing you there, that's quoted directly from the Mishnah of the Gemara. So it's an editorial style to show you it's bold that it's a quote.
So the Rosh.
So that's not the Rosh, right? That's not the Rosh. That's just quoting Mishnah Gemara. Now the Rosh is going to make the commentary.
Okay.
Like, if it's okay, I'm going to take a quick break here, real quick, and then we can get back to it. Give everyone a chance to get everything down. Does anybody have any questions where we're at right now? What we've done today is we're trying to get a definition on Rabin. What's the halakhic significance of the word Rabin? The Rosh takes us to Masechta Churios to get some definition over there. There's a whole debate over there if it's all, or is it Rov. Then it's interesting. Then he's going to take a turn. Now he's going to come back into what Tosfos was talking about at the end of what's the nature of a bracha itself. And it's a quote from Rabbi Zera in the Yerushalmi in the Jerusalem Talmud that a bracha, it needs to have two things to be official bracha. It needs to mention Shem and Malchus. It has to use one. It has to use one of the names of Hashem, and it has to mention Malchus. Generally, the general form is Melech HaOlam. Melech HaOlam is a general form, but as we talked about before, it's a very interesting aspect of Shemona Esrei, that if we look at the ending of all the brachas in Shemona Esrei, there's concepts of Malchus, but they're generally not saying Melech HaOlam. They're saying other concepts that are showing Hashem's Malchus, but it's going through all these different varieties. And it's a whole different class. It's an interesting class. All right, so now we're going to keep going in the Rosh. Can I erase it's up here? Does anyone need a little more time? Okay, take a picture? Okay.
This is it.
A photo opportunity. It's a good photo opportunity. Okay. All right, we're good? I'm going to take this off and we'll keep going.
Just hold fast.
Oh, okay. No, I can take pictures. People want to pose by the landmark. We can make like a Grand Canyon experience here. Okay, we're taking a picture.
Have we come to any conclusion here about what Rabin's all about?
Not yet. I mean, so it's interesting. So I think he's given us a little more definition, but we don't have a Pesach halakha yet of exactly what's the halakha l'maisa of Rabin. But it was interesting, and we'll see if the Rosh comes back to it. But it's interesting that he wanted us to take a look over in Chorios of like the concept of one tribe. One tribe. It happens to the majority of the tribes or all the tribes. Okay, so we'll get back.
But it says over there, Kol Shevet.
Yeah. So this is okay.
Kol
This
is all. It should, no, that's
right.
not-
This is great. This is a great example of how to learn Gemara and how to learn Rishonim, because it's very subtle language. Sometimes we don't pick up on it. That's a great question. All it says here, literally, what does it say? It says kol, all, tribe and tribe.
Right.
All, tribe and tribe. So we have to translate that to English. So really, what it's saying is all tribe and tribe. Every tribe and tribe. What it's really saying is each tribe. So kol shevet shevet, kol shevet v'shevet really means each tribe. Very good. Very subtle. And then when it says kol hashavatim, that means all the tribes. So we see this subtle language all the time in the Gemara, all the time in the Rishonim, and it's very subtle, and we have to really pay attention and then get a clear definition of what it is. That's why very, very helpful a lot of times look it up in our scroll, because it looks very similar, and we could read it very similar. We could read it, kol shevet v'shevet means every tribe. But no, what's the difference? Kol shevet v'shevet means each tribe, and then kol shavati means all the tribes. So it's very subtle, but we have to really know the definition. Okay.
So you have to bounce back and forth between being literal and interpretive.
Right. So there is the concept of like the literal is not always the best translation. There's the concept they're getting across. We're not really fluent Aramaic speakers, so we have to really put it into our language to really get.
So that would be like in English, we say each and every.
Each and every, right? Each and every, right? Each and every. So it's confusing because it's the same word kol, but it's doing two different things of how how the Rosh is saying it, or really how it's saying it. It's said in the Gemara in Masechta Chorios. It's very, very interesting. Okay, so let's go on to the next part of the Rosh. And right, a lot of these things, there's no magical recipe. It's just doing it again and again and again. The Rosh Tevos of the words, like it's not a magic recipe. It's just doing it again and again and again, learning the acronyms. Just learning, what, like Mem, Dalet, Man, Damar. We're just, Aleph, Lamed, Amar, Le. He says that we're just going to see these things again and again and again. And just the more we do it, then the Rosh Tevos start to make sense. It just becomes, we're used to seeing it and we just get it. Okay, so let's go to the next step in the Rosh. So he goes back to now talking about the nature of a bracha. And now he's going to say where he got that concept from. And he's telling us, here it is, he says, V'chaki, and it is Isa. Like, where can we find that concept of what's a bracha? He's telling us we can find it in the Yerushalmi. We can find it in the Yerushalmi, and it was Rabbi Zera, that said it. So he's letting us know where he got the idea from. It's in the Yerushalmi. It's in the Jerusalem Talmud. That's where I'm quoting from. He's telling us, Di Perakim. What's Perakim mean? Di Perakim is our Perek. So it's the ninth Perek, ninth chapter. And then he's saying it's Rebbe Zera who quoted this of what a bracha is. A bracha, according to Rebbe Zera, needs Shem and Malchus. Now we're going to turn the page. So now we're done with this page here on the photocopy. We're going to turn the page, and now where we're going to be working is we're going to be working here. We're going to be working, so it's like a page flip if you actually had it in your Gemara, and now we're going to here. So it's not only Rebbe Zera, the Rosh is letting us know it's Rebbe Zera and Rav Yehuda, And Rav Yehuda is I think he's one of the Amoraim, and he's from Bavel. And then he says, and then they say, so what they say is they tell us, and he restates it again. So here's the rule. Kol bracha, every bracha, what does a blessing need? She'ein, and this is the rule he's teaching us, she'ein ba, that doesn't have in it malchus, doesn't have a mention of kingship, ain't a bracha. So if it doesn't have malchus, it's not a bracha, according to Rebbe Zera and Rav Yehuda. So it's not a bracha according to them. And then we're going to go more into learning the nature of a bracha. Okay, so let me just write the definition here. Okay, so he's letting us know this is coming from Yerushalmi, and Hachi, and so it is also, it's not the language we can see, so we're not used to speaking this way. And so it is also in the Jerusalem Talmud, in Diperakim, in our chapter. Our chapter is the ninth Perek. So it's letting us know it's the ninth chapter in the Yerushalmi. So that's very nice, because he's letting us not get confused. When we go over to the Yerushalmi, we're not going to know where it is, but he's letting it know it's our Perakim, our Perakim, it's in our chapter. So go to the ninth chapter in the Jerusalem Talmud, and then you're going to find it. And then it's a quote from Rebbe Zera and Rav Yehuda, and it's telling us every blessing that doesn't have in it, right? Doesn't have in it the mention of kingship. It's not a bracha. It's not kosher. It's not a halakhically good bracha. It's not a blessing. So we really need to have. We need Shem and Malchus, but they're teaching us this rule that if it doesn't have Malchus, it's not a bracha at all. So we're going to have to see, why is the Rosh going back to this? And what's the Rosh doing right now? We're going to have to see what is the Rosh doing right now. Okay, so why is he going back to this part? So this was at the end of the Tosfos. So now he's giving his commentary on the end of the Tosfos. Okay, and he's going to say, let's see, now he's going to quote, he's going to say, Amar Rebbe Tanhu. So he's going to quote Rebbe Tanhu, but once again, We have the Rosh Tevos, and that's how it looks. And so we'll, forgot a tub. But it means Amar Rebbe. And we'll see this a lot. We see this form a lot. This is Rosh Tevos, Amar Rebbe Tanchum. Tanchuma. And he also wrote the Midrash Tanchuma. And it's called that because the very first quote in there is Amar Rebbe Tanchuma. So you guys can do this. I mean, it's a little trick I use when it quotes a sefer, when it quotes like a Tana or an Amarayim or a Gon, I underline it in my Gemara. And the reason why I underline it is because when I want to go back and find a Machlokas really quick, I'm looking for Rebbe Yehuda and Rebbe Shimon. And I can look on the page real quick and I say, oh, there it is, because I have an underline. There's Rebbe Yehuda, there's Rebbe Shimon, and I found it real quick. So it's just a tip, but I find it very helpful to underline the names Tanayim, Amarayim, Goanim, Rishonim, just underline, and then underline if it quotes a sefer, so then I can know to look it up in that sefer. I don't know. It's a little tip. It's a little trick I find pretty useful. You guys can decide if you want to do it or not. Amar Rebbe Tanchuma. So he says, Ana Amina. Right, he's saying, I say, Taima, I say the reason. Now he's going to give us, it's very interesting, he's giving us a reason why does it have to be like this. Ana Amina Taima, I'm saying the reason. Ro Memeka, right? I will elevate you. Elokei, like the God of the king, Hamelech. And I think there's a quote. Let me see if it tells us where this quote's from. So we have a little Zion in parentheses. I may have to actually look it up in Gemara because I don't think I have it on this photocopy. But I can go to the Rosh and we can look up where this quote's from.
It's from Psalm 145.
It's from where? It's from
Psalm 145.
145. So it's Tehillim 145.
Tehillim 145, right. It's in Ashrei.
Yeah. So we say this a lot. We said it this morning. Twice. Okay, so it sounds familiar, right? So he's saying this is the reason. And he's giving this quote from Tehillim. And he's saying this is the reason. Okay, so let's just get a definition here. And then we'll see what Rebbe Tanchuma is saying. Okay, so right, Rosh Tevos, Aleph Resh means Amar, and that means Rabbi, Tanchuma. So this is the rabbi's quoting, Tanchuma. I don't know a lot about Rabbi Tanchuma. I would have to look up some information about him. I mean, I'm pretty sure the very first quote in Midrash Tanchuma is Amar Rebbe Tanchuma. I don't know if he wrote it, but it's attributed to him for some reason. So we'll have to get more information on that. So he's saying something interesting. So he's saying, what's Rebbe Tanchuma saying? He's saying, I say the reason, the taima, I say the reason is this. So he's answering a very interesting question. What's the reason Rebbe Zeir and Rav Yehuda, why did they say a bracha needs, if it doesn't have malchus, it's not a real bracha? And it's because of this. It's because of this pasuk that we say every day in Tehillim. Aroma mecha, like I will elevate you. Here, do we have a siddur where anybody know that I will elevate you? I will raise you up. I will raise you up. I will elevate you. And the God of the king, or the God Elokei Hamelech, God the king. God the king. So here we see like Hashem referred to as Elokei Hamelech, and I will raise you up. So what does that mean, I will raise you up? I will praise you. I will say blessings and praise in your name. And this is the proof, and this is the reason Rebbe Tanchuma is saying that we need to mention Malchus in a bracha. Because Aromamecha, I will like praise you, Hashem. I will elevate you. I will elevate you in the eyes of the world. I will praise all your actions and everything you do, Hashem. I'm going to praise you to the world because you are the God, you're the King, right? So what it's saying is, what are we doing? Like when we come to a place, we see a place where a great miracle happened, and we make a bracha, what are we doing? In a way, like what we're trying to do is, we're trying to like make a huge billboard in the world and say, Hashem is great. Like Hashem did this amazing thing, because now it can be like thousands of years later now. So I come to the Red Sea. Let's say there's all kinds of Torah groups. There's a Jewish Torah group, and there's all kinds of Gentile Torah groups. And we come to this, we know where the place is, the splitting of the Red Sea. And the Jews come and they make a bracha, because Aron Mecha, we're raising you up, Hashem. We're raising your name in the world. We're letting the world know that you did this miracle. There's only one God, you did this miracle. And we're praising him and letting them. So the reason of all these brachas, in some ways, is to also to like, Vayikra b'Shem Hashem. Like Abraham started, it's to call out in the name of Hashem, to tell the world there's only one God, and Hashem's doing the great things in the world. And letting the world know. We're like doing the ad campaign, so to speak, for Hashem. Letting the world know all the great things Hashem's doing in the world. And we're making brachas of this thanks, this bracha of thanks, and this bracha to let the world know how powerful Hashem is, and that Hashem did these miracles. So when we see the place where the miracle happened, we're making the bracha, and we're elevating Hashem's name in the world. Okay, so that's according to Rebbe Tanchuma why we're doing it. And let's see where the Rosh goes next. And that was brought from Tehillim 145.
Is he saying, in that Arucha, I am raising you up by Elokai, saying your name, Shem, Hamelach, and saying that you're king.
Yeah, so I think it is Shem and Malchus, right? It's like this is where Rebbe Zera got Shem and Malchus. And then it's interesting, if we do this twice a day, if we even say this pasuk in the Ashrei, it says that person's a ben olam haba. I think 3 times, if you say the Ashrei 3 times a day, you're a ben olam haba. So just even saying the instructions of what we're doing, but the Tehillim itself is praising Hashem. And doing that Tehillim, that special Tehillim 145, Ashrei, we're a ben olam haba. We're the person that does that 3 times a day, we're on our way. We're on our way to olam haba. Okay, so what is the next step? Let me see how we're doing. Do we want to break right now, or do we want to just keep going?
I need to go.
Okay, so how does everybody feel? Do we want to take a quick break? Do we want to keep going? Where's everybody at? Just keep weiter. All right, we're just going to keep going. We're pushing on with the Rosh. Okay. So what's the next step? Let's see. So then he's going to bring Rabbah. And what's Rabbah going to say? So Rabbah Omer. So Rabbah is going to teach us something here. So Rabbah Omer. And Rabbah is going to say, Sadik, Lamed. Once again, we got a Roshi Tevos. We'll have to see what it means. Ata. This is interesting. This is really interesting. Okay, so let's define this. So Rabbah tells us, and this is very short, but it's very powerful. And it's very interesting. It's a very deep subject. We're not going to go so into it right now, but it's very... does anybody know Sadik Lamed? What's that mean? Sarich means Sarich. Sarich Lomar. Right? So it says you need to say, and what do we need to say? We need to say Ata. It's very interesting. Very interesting. We need to say Ata, and this is a very deep concept. What does he mean we need to say Ata? Because what's the nusach? What's the text? What's the form of the bracha? We say Baruch Ata Hashem. It's very interesting. This is a very deep subject. We're not going to go into it so much right now, but why do we need to do that? Why can't we just say Baruch Hashem? We saw at the very beginning of the Gemara the mana chanimili. Where do we even know the concept of blessing Hashem when Hashem's done something great in the world? Where do we know the concept from? We know the concept from Yisro in Sefer Shmos in the book of Exodus. We know the concept because Yisro, after he sees the Jewish people are saved in the 10 miraculous plagues, and the crossing of the Red Sea, the miracle of the crossing of the Red Sea, the splitting of the Red Sea, we see Yisro comes, he says, Baruch Hashem. So Rabbah is saying something really interesting. So when we're davening, when we're saying a bracha in the Shemona Esrei, or any bracha, why do we just say Baruch Atah Hashem? Why don't we just say Baruch Hashem? Why don't we say blessed is Hashem? Why do we say blessed are you, Hashem? And this is a deep topic. But why are we saying Atah? Because we're connecting ourselves to Hashem. Because when you talk to someone, you say you want to say hello to someone, you want to say hello to your friend. You say, your friend's name, how are you doing? When we're talking to Hashem in the Shemona Esrei, we need to link ourselves that we're talking to Hashem. So Rabbah's teaching us something incredible here. We need to say Atah. So part of that form of the bracha that's very important is we need to link ourselves. It's not, we could just say Baruch Hashem, but we need to say Baruch Atah Hashem. Who are we praying to? We're praying to you, Hashem. We're connecting to Hashem. We're praying. We're letting Hashem know that we're only praying to Him, and we're connecting ourselves to Hashem when we're doing tefillah, when we're doing davening, and we're saying Baruch Atah. And Rabbah is saying that's really important. And the Rosh is bringing that we need the word Atah. And that's a very deep mystical concept. Maybe I can look into it more. We can look into it, go into more. But Rabbah is saying we need Atah. It's not enough just to say Baruch Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam. We need the Atah. We need to know we're in a personal conversation with Hashem. And we need the word Atah in the bracha for it to be a bracha. Really interesting concept. Okay, so what's the next step? So now, after that, we're going to get Shmuel. And Shmuel's going to say, let's see what Shmuel says. And Shmuel's going to say another thing we need in the bracha. Shmuel Omer. And he's going to help finish off what we need. And he's going to say Elokeinu. We also need to add that He's our God. That not only is Hashem unique, not only are we talking to Him, but to really make it Malchus, it needs the form of Elokeinu Melech HaOlam. So we'll talk about that in a second. And then, okay, so then we're going to the next concept of Praki. Alright, so Shmuel's adding something else on here, and he's adding, for it to be an official bracha, we need to recognize that not only is Hashem this unique, infinite being, but He's our God. We have a personal connection as a nation with Hashem and ourselves. And then He's the king of the entire universe. So to really understand the Malchus and the power of Hashem, His kingdom is the entire universe. There's not anything He's created that He's not ruling over. And then now we have a bracha. So we have all these different components. Rebbe Zera teaches us we need Shem and Malchus. Rebbe Tanchuma teaches us, right, that the reason why we're saying the bracha is from the Ashrei, that we're trying to elevate Hashem's name and kingship in the world. Rabbah teaches us that we need this personal connection when we're saying the bracha. We need to be talking directly to Hashem and saying Atah, you Hashem. And then Shmuel says we need to recognize that we have this special relationship, that Hashem's Elokeinu, He's our God, and He's the Melech HaOlam. And He rules, His kingdom is the entire universe. Okay, so this is just the section of the Rosh on just the format, the text of a bracha. And then we're going to get into the idea of parakim next, of how often you can say a bracha. But I think we'll erase this when everyone's ready, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, people can take as much time as you need. Are there any questions on where we're at right now? Yeah.
So real short, this part we're reading now, it says on the front page here, is that the book it came from?
Oh, so let me see. So this was actually, where actually is this? This is in the back of my Gemara here. So this was here, ninth parak. I'll show it to you. Let me show you. So this, it came, just so you can get a sense of where it is. So this is, if you have something like a Vilna edition or the Oz Vahador.
Oh, so everybody's included in the back.
Right. So then you have so you have the Rosh, the Rif, and the Ron. Right. So it's there. So I just photocopied from here.
Did ArtScroll get a hold of that?
So ArtScroll. So I don't know. ArtScroll hasn't yet done. It'll be interesting. Will ArtScroll eventually get to some of this? Will like ArtScroll do something with like the Rosh and the Ron and the Ron? I don't know. Will ArtScroll start putting together the halakhic part? Maybe. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Like, will ArtScroll eventually get to like the Torah and like a Rambam, like a Rambam ArtScroll? Will there be right Rosh Rif? Ron. Will there be ArtScroll on the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, ArtScroll is really they're getting around to everything
Because they have to write commentary on the commentaries.
Yeah.
To create that.
Yeah, but maybe at some,
platform that they have now.
but maybe at some point, right? Maybe at some point, ArtScroll does start to tackle their Rishonim. It'd be very interesting. I mean, on the Chumash, like they're tremendous. Like Ramban, Baladorim, like
Right, so
Orachayim.
they broke all that out.
Yeah, like Orachayim, right? So they broke it out and they're giving you commentary. So maybe eventually they will get into the Halakhic Rishonim, Rishonim.
So who's Orachayim again?
All right, Orachayim. I can't remember his name right now. He lived, I believe, in the old city of Jerusalem. There's the shul. There's a little shul. As you come down, there's street Orachayim. It's right. It comes down to the Cardo in the old city in the Jewish quarter. We actually used to live right near there, so I'm very familiar with it. Sometimes I daven there on Shabbos. Beautiful little shul. I think that was his home. That was the Orachayim shul. I have to look up his background. I can't remember so much. Right? I'm blanking on the Orachayim, but I think he's one of the 4 people called HaKodesh. It's like the Shlah HaKodesh. I think it's the Al-Shik HaKodesh. I think the Orachayim is one of the Kodesh. He's one of the Kodesh. It's the Orachayim HaKodesh, I think. Yeah, very, very holy guy. And right, so he was one of the big Rebbeim in Jerusalem way back when. Yeah. And right, his amazing commentary on the Chumash, and I don't know. I think he's written some other amazing Sfarim. I'm going to look it up. I'll have to look it up now. All right. So before we move on, we can take pictures of this. Is it okay? Can I erase this? Okay. So then the next step, we're going to start getting into the concept of parakim, the concept of how often can you make a bracha. Okay, it's good. We're starting to get like how many people do you need to be a rabbi? How many? What's the official format of a bracha? And then we're going to get into this concept now of how often can you make a bracha. So if you notice something about what the Rosh is doing is, it doesn't seem like the Rosh is poskening the halakha, right? But he's giving us all the information that we would need to posken the halakha. The Rosh isn't telling us exactly like halakha lamaisa, but he's giving us all the parameters of all the information we need to posken the halakha for ourselves. And that's why Rabbi Yosef Kara is going to use, right, the format of the 2 out of 3 of the Rif. And we saw what the Rif was doing, the Rosh, and then we're going to get to Rambam, Bezrat Hashem tomorrow, and we're going to see why they are all, crucial to poskening halakha. But when we get to Rambam, he's actually poskening for us. So that's going to be a little different. It's
the Rif, Rosh, and Rambam.
Rif, Rosh, and Rambam, yeah. Rif, Rosh, and Rambam, and that's the formula 2 out of 3. That's how the Shulchan Aruch poskens. Okay, so, right, because we don't really see that the Rosh is telling us, no, you do it exactly like this. He gave us, here's some information on how to figure out what Rambam is. Here's information you need to know what officially a bracha is. And now here's some information on what parakim is. And now you can posken. But he's not poskening for us. He's giving us the Torah Shabbat Peh, so we know how to posken in each generation. All right, so then the next step, he's going to say this. He's going to say, B'kol brachos, and all the brachos. Here, let me see. So this is the Rosh, just so we know where we're at. And he's going to say, B'kol. Let's see. B'kol brachos, all the blessings, all the brachos. All the brachos are elu, all these brachos. Einan, they're not. They are not Ella, but they're only, so it's an Ein Ella, they're only, Einan Ella, they're only Mi Shaloshim Yom Le Shaloshim Yom. Now, this was different because it only says in the Mishnah that this is talking about just making the bracha on the Yom HaGadol on the Mediterranean. So now the Rosh is saying something very big here. The Rosh is saying the concept of parakim applies to every one of the brachas in the Mishnah. That's crazy. And all the blessings, all these all these blessings, meaning all these, what's all these blessings? All these blessings that are in the Mishnah. So we're talking about all our blessings in the Mishnah, right? All these blessings in our Mishnah, they all have the concept of parakim. That's a big concept. So ein non ella, not rather, means only. They only are they're only from 30 days to 30 days. Okay. So this is big. So now he's telling us how often can we make the bracha. And the Rosh is telling us you can make the bracha every 30 days. So if you make the bracha, you got to wait another 30 days. What we're going to have to look out for, because we know, I think, like if you make the bracha, let's say on thunder, or if you make the bracha on lightning, I don't think you have to wait 30 days on that bracha. So we're going to have to see what's different on that one. I think earthquakes, hurricanes, the natural phenomena. Right now, I keep forgetting the name. I think it's the periods, or it's like the shooting stars. It's fall at this time of year. I'll look it up again. The periods. Pleiades, and it's yeah, forget the name. It happens in August every year, and it's like you get real early in the morning. You see the shower, the star, the stars, the shooting stars falling into the atmosphere, burning up. Okay, so the periods. Okay, I'll have to look it up, but there, so there's probably a bracha. We can maybe ought to make a bracha on those because that relates to what we saw in the Mishnah. Zikin, one definition is shooting stars, comets, meteors. Okay, so right, so he's saying that, and then the next step, he's saying this. He's saying, bleh. And we're going to get another Rosh Tevot, so we'll have to see what this means. We're going to get a Hey Nun. We'll have to see what that means. So it means V'hachi Nami, and then we see an abbreviation. It says Amri, but it stands for Amrinan. A little dash note lets us know it's an abbreviation. Gimel Mem, once again, an abbreviation for Big Gemara in the Gemara. Then he tells us where it is. It's on Daf Nun Ches Amid Beis, if we want to look it up. And he says, Haroeh, so that's the beginning of our Mishnah, Haroeh, Ace, Chaveiro, if he sees his friend, Chaveiro, Le Achar, after, if he sees his friend after, from 30 days, Es Haveiro L'Achar Shloshim Yom. L'Achar Shloshim Yom. If he sees his friend after 30 days, he can make a special bracha. We'll see. Sees his friend after 30 days. Shloshim Yom. Sees his friend after 30 days. Omer, he can say a Shechianu. He can make the bracha of a Shechianu if he hasn't seen his friend for 30 days, which is interesting. And he makes the bracha of a Shechianu. Shechianu. Okay, and that's a halakha that's being brought later on. I think it's later on in our Gemara on Daf Nun Ches, or maybe behind. I don't know where we're on. Where are we right now in the Gemara? We're in Nun Dalet. So this is a couple couple dots ahead of where we are right now. So it says V'haki nami, so this is V'haki nami. And what does that mean? That means like, and so also. So also, maybe not be the Amrinan, this is Amrinan, Rinan, which is we say. Big Amara is an abbreviation for Big Gemara in the Gemara, and it's on page 58b. So the roeh, the person that sees, person who sees his friend, person sees his friend after 30 days, after 30 days, he can make the bracha of a shechianu. He can make the bracha of a shechianu. I don't know how to do it in English. Shechianu. You can make the bracha of a shechianu. So there's a halakha that if you haven't seen your friend in 30 days, when you see your friend, you can now make a bracha of a shechianu. And it's important, because as we just learned, right, in this week's Parsha that we just had on Shabbos, right, in Parsha V'Eskanan, we learned the Ten Commandments again, and I think it's the third one. We don't want to use Hashem's name in vain. So we don't want to use Hashem's name in vain. When we use the Shem of Hashem, we have to know that it's a kosher bracha, so we want to know these halakhas really well, and this is serious stuff because we're using Hashem's name. But when we have an obligation to make the bracha, and we can use Hashem's name, it's very powerful and it has a powerful effect in the world. But when we haven't seen our friend in 30 days, we can use Hashem's name, we can use, mention Hashem in the Malchus, and we can make the bracha of a shechianu. Any questions so far where we're at? Straightforward? It's pretty straightforward? Okay, let's see. Then, so we're getting into the concept of parakim, and he's showing from later on in the Gemara, we get one example of this general rule of 30 days. You can make a bracha again after 30 days. Okay. So then, V'tanan nami, and it's also taught in a Mishnah. V'tanan, we're taught also in a Mishnah. Haroeh, and this is our Mishnah, that the person who sees, the roeh, who sees the Yam HaGadol, the Mediterranean Sea, the Great Sea, Hayam HaGadol, right? Hayam HaGadol, L'Parakim, and then the word Parakim, intervals. But we see that the word, Tosafos told us that the word Parakim means 30 days. We see it in Parakim, we see it in intervals. And then Dahainu, what does this mean? What does the word Parakim mean? Dahainu, it is Achas Lishalosh. It's once every 30 days. Once every 30 days. Okay, and there. And so we'll define that. And this concept of parakim from our Mishnah now. So, and we learn also in our Mishnah, right? Our Mishnah, we learn this concept that person who sees the roeh, the person who sees the Mediterranean Sea, the Great Sea, I can't remember how to spell it now. Mediterranean Sea, hopefully that's right. In these parakim, in intervals, and what's parakim mean? It is once every 30 days. Achas v'shaloshim, once to 30. So it means 1 to 30, once every 30 days. Every 30 days. And then after 30 days has passed, then we can make the bracha again. Okay, so let me go to the next step. We'll just keep moving along in the Rosh. Let's see how we're doing. Next step is once every 30 days, and then he's going to bring now he's going to bring a learning from the Yerushalmi again. So then he's going to say, V'amrinan, we say, V'amrinan, we say, Nami, we also say in the Yerushalmi, Yerushalmi, we say in the Jerusalem Talmud, De Perikin, our Perek, in the ninth Perek, De Perikin, in our Perek, Shimon, there's a quote from Shimon, Matkia. Shemat, so this is his name, Kematkia. And he's going to ask, so he's going to ask a shaila of Rebbe Chia bar Abba, Rebbe Chia bar Abba, and he's going to say, Kegon, he's going to say, like, for example, Kegon, Ana, let's see, Ana de Salik, Vechame Yerushalayim. It seems out the hot water springs of Yerushalayim, of Jerusalem. Yerushalayim. Kol Shah V'Shah, every hour. Kol Shah V'Shah. So I may have to look up this case a little better. I'm not completely familiar with this case, but what is the halakha? So let's break down at least what he's saying here, and then we'll see if from the answer we can get more clarity of what his question is. All right, so let's see what's happening. So we learn also, we say we learn also in the Jerusalem Talmud, our chapter, so ninth chapter, our parak, ninth chapter, Jerusalem Talmud. And there's this man, Shimon Kamtakya, and he asks a shaila, he asks a question of Rebbe Chia bar Abba. So he asks a question, he's going to ask a halakhic question, a shaila, of Rebbe Chia bar Abba, and he's going to say, Kagon, like for example, I disalik, like I left Vachame, I think it's like these are the hot springs. I think it's something about the hot springs of Jerusalem. I think I left. I don't know. I have to look up what the case is. I left the hot springs of Jerusalem every hour, each hour. So probably each hour. And then Mahu, what's the din? All right, so we're going to have to see the answer. I'm not totally familiar with this case or this Gemara, so I may have to look it up in the Yerushalmi. Let's see if from the answer we can get a little more clarity. All right, let me know when everyone's done, and then we'll go on to the next part. Yeah. Let me go ahead here and look it up a little more. I didn't get to go through this much as I wanted to. Let me see. So, what's he going to say here? He's saying that there's a hot spring in Jerusalem, She'ekra. Oh, what should I say? More like Ein Atal Sarif Likro. Mahu She'ekra. I'm sorry, I forgot one part. Mahu She'ekra. What should I don't know if he's talking about tearing Kriya here or saying something. I think he's saying a Bracha. Mahu She'ekra. What do I say? I think he's asking what Bracha does he make. I think it's a natural wonder. think those are these natural hot springs, which I'm not sure we have right now. Mahu she'ekra. So I think he's asking what bracha does he make on seeing these hot springs at Jerusalem after he leaves them. Mahu she'ekra. And he's asking, his shaila is, what bracha does he make on these like natural springs that Hashem created? There's some kind of natural hot springs, which sounds really great, in Jerusalem. So what do I say when I think it's saying when I leave? Like he went to these hot springs. When I leave and I want to thank Hashem for these hot springs, after he went to this natural spot, and I think he's asking what bracha does he make when he leaves this natural water. I didn't know those natural hot springs in Jerusalem. That's pretty cool. I wonder where they are. All right, is everybody, we got this? Need a little more time? Let everyone write everything out. Okay. And then he's going to get an answer from Rabbi Chia bar Abba of what the halakha is here. And it's interesting. So it seems like Rabbi Chia bar Abba is going to tell him not to make the bracha, and we'll have to see why. So why is he not going to make the bracha on these natural hot springs? It's interesting. Let me know.
The king of the entire universe.
What's that?
He's the king of the entire universe.
The king of the entire universe and beyond, because really the universe is just in the middle of Hashem. So Hashem like goes on for infinity. But from our perspective, everything we know that exists, right, Hashem's ruling over. He's the king of it all. Like good? More time? A little more time? Okay. So this is going to be interesting. So now we're going to see a limitation. Now we're going to see there's limitations in the halakha because we talked about before. If we're mentioning Hashem's name, we don't want to be over on the mitzvah not to use Hashem's name for like vain things, like not unless it's important. We're only like given permission to use Hashem's name like during tefillah, during davening, during learning, like reading a sefer Torah. We can use Hashem's names, but we don't always have permission to use Hashem's name. So we're going to see here that even though like Hashem's created this natural wonder, this amazing hot springs in Jerusalem, I think Rabbi Chia bar Abba, he's going to say, no, you can't make a bracha here, and we're going to have to see why. We're going to see why is there a limitation here of not making a bracha on this natural wonder that Hashem created. Let me pause for a second and we'll get back into it. Okay. So let's go here. So let's get Rabbi Chia bar Abba's answer. So he was asked the shaila, do I have to make a bracha? Can I make a bracha on the hot springs of Jerusalem? And he's going to give his answer. So he's going to say his answer is so it's Aleph Lamed, which is a Morley. He says to him, and his answer is Ain. Nope. Ain atasarid. You do not need to make a bracha. So why? We're going to see why he doesn't need to make a bracha. You went to these beautiful hot springs in Jerusalem, but you don't need to make a bracha. It's not correct. I think it's Likra. You don't need to say the bracha. I think that's what he's saying here. I gotta look this up a little better. Alright, so why? So then we're going to see the reason. So because tala, when you go up, or it goes up on your mind when you think about it. If you think about it, tala al daitecha, if you think about it, goes up on your mind, and you start to think about this, and he's going to give a mashal how it works. So you start to think about it. Why? So what's going on? So he says, Sheharoah, the person that sees, Sheharoah, he sees the king. The person that sees the king, every day. If he sees the king every day, B'kol Yom, if he sees the king every day, Yivarech, then he's going to make a bracha of what? He sees the king every day, he's going to say Yivarech, Hilkach, because Nira, he's seen that the kol brachos, that all of the brachos, einam ella, so he's saying there's a general rule that all the brachas, einam ella, they're only really every 30 days. There's a general rule of all the brachas that they're only 30 days. Mishaloshim yom. And I'm going to have to look this up in your Yerushalmi to understand this a little better. Mishoshim yom lishloshim yom. Okay, so there's a general rule that we really don't make brachas. We really need to wait 30 days to roll these brachas of like thanks and praising Hashem. So these special brachas, they have a condition that we really wait 30 days. So let's see what he's saying here. So he's saying, he says to him, this is Amar Le. It's the Rosh Tevos of Amar Le. He says to him, so this is Rebbe Kia Bar Abba's answer. He says to him, it says, Ein Ata. You don't need to say the kroa. You don't need to say. I don't know if it's tearing kriya or I have to look this up. And so because or if it goes up on your mind. So if you think about it, the person who sees the king every day, if a person sees the king every day, he will bless Hilkach. He will bless that he is nira, he is seen. That he will bless that he is seen as by the king. And then that all the blessings are only from 30 days to 30 days. So we have a general rule of 30 days to 30 days. So I think what he's saying is, I have to go over this a little better, but I think what he's saying is, if you see the king every day, and you're seen by the king every day, it's not as special as like if it's a rare occurrence that I think that's what he's saying, but I want to go over this a little better to get it clear. I mean, he says it kind of becomes like if someone works for the king and they're in the palace every day, it's not as special as the person, let's say, has to come really far away, let's say from a really far part of Eretz Yisrael, to visit the palace and sees the king. It's a very special event. He wants to make a big bracha, he wants to make a big blessing when he sees the king. But someone that is just like their daily occurrence, then it becomes more common. It's not such a special event that the person should make a bracha. So then we kind of get this rule. Now we don't want to, use the shame and the malchus all the time. We want to make it very special when we do it. So there's this concept of waiting 30 days. So we have a concept of waiting 30 days to make these brachas again. Okay, but I want to go over this one a little better. I think that's what it means, but I want to be sure. Okay, so then we're going to get a statement from Mar Baray to Ravina, Mar, the son of Ravina. I think he's going to tell us. Then it's going to go into the story of the camel. He's saved from the camel and he's saved from the of thirst in the desert. And then Hashem does two miracles for him. So what if 2 miracles happen for you? Okay, so I don't think I want to go into this section right now. We've been through this before. This is really just a repeating of what we see in the Gemara. All right, so I think maybe today, if it's okay, maybe we'll stop here for today. Any questions on anything we've seen today or our journey today? And so I think it's going to be interesting tomorrow because then we're going to go into the Rambam, and now we're going to see for the first time, we're going to see a Pesach halacha. So the Rambam's not just going to explain it to us, but he's going to give us a real halacha. He's going to say, this is what you do. This is what you do on the blessing. This is what you do on the blessing. This is how you make the blessing. So for the first time, we're going to see in halacha where we get a Pesach. Even though we're still learning something from the Rambam because he's going to explain it, but we're going to get a Pesach where we haven't seen that yet.